That's great. I really um, love New Tribe. I was reading some of the most recent articles actually today, and I love that embrace that magazine has about women empowerment. Do you feel that in reading some of the articles, of course, it's always a very positive tone. Do you feel like this day and age it's important to highlight the positivity and with black females because there is so much negativity that comes about from whether it be the media or what have you when it comes to being a black female?
I definitely think it's important that we highlight the successes and achievements of people of color generally, and specifically Black women. Because we are always at the forefront. We had the hashtag on Twitter just the other day. Black women did that, where we talked about both historical women and women, from today who were making significant changes in all facets of life. So why wouldn't we celebrate those achievements and highlight those women? I think we see Black women who started the Black Lives Matter movement and are still on the front lines. You talk about the women who are in charge of the Democratic National Committee and the convention itself are Black women. And it will be, according to the polls and the research, it will be Black women and women of color who will be deciding the election in 2016. So why wouldn't New Tribe and other publications take that to heart and ensure that we are discussing those issues of importance to Black women, but also celebrating them just because we should, because Black
Absolutely.
women deserve to be celebrated for who they are, regardless of whether they are a well-known name or just someone who's making it happen every single day in their personal life. Everybody should feel that acknowledgement, and we hope to do that in New Tribe.
Absolutely. Earlier this year, I got a great opportunity to do my podcast live at this organization. It was a 5K run slash walk, and my very good friend's mother put together this group, and it's an organization called Brown Baby Cakes. And the Brown Baby Cakes essentially is a clothing line that had positive little girls of color and imagery on the clothing. Because a lot of times, as we grew up, and she was a very influential woman in my life, there was so much sass or, a black woman attitude when it came to clothing. So all of this is like little girls that can be doctors, lawyers, anything with a positive image. So it really grown, and she decided to put together this like full day of a run slash walk slash festival. And just as passionate as you are, I am, because I feel like as soon as, a black woman takes a role of leadership and they become authoritative, she gets labeled and kind of boxed in to a certain category. And whether that be having a quote unquote attitude or, she's quote unquote bougie. I love the fact that there are women out there and we're supporting one another in a positive light instead of trying to bring each other down and have a negative tone for somebody else's accomplishment. So that means so much to me. I know that you made mention, and I really wanted to touch base on this. The young ladies that created the Black Lives Matter hashtag, they are an amazing group. I've seen them speak on CNN, and of course, they are just really trying to make a cultural change. What does the term "stay woke" mean to you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat what term?
The term "stay woke." So when somebody is saying like, y'all better stay woke about what's going on in the media, or stay woke what's going on in the streets, what does that mean to you?
I think stable to me means that one just has to be cognizant of historical frames of reference in addition to what's going on around them. every single day, so that the old saying goes, the wool can't be pulled over your eyes. That you are alert and conscious to issues regarding it could be white supremacy or race in general, or state-sanctioned violence or appropriation of Black culture, but just being very mindful and knowledgeable and observant about what's going on around you and how that affects your community.
That's a great explanation. And another thing that you brought up, I just recently got the great honor to be invited to the Congressional Black Caucus VIP mayor dinner at the Democratic National Convention. And there was a lot of positivity. There was a lot of great talks about change within the culture. But the one thing that I wanted to speak and highlight upon was how many influential African Americans that are in everything from local government straight to the Congress. And I was in such awe, of course, me not being a politician myself, but just a citizen, obviously of concern of what has been going on. Do you get asked frequently to speak about, the Black Lives Matter, the police brutality, and your thoughts on that into larger groups? Do you get asked a lot to speak upon that?
I try to shy away from those requests because I'm not one of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement, and so I think that there are people that are much more knowledgeable and connected to the movement than I am. And so while I'm absolutely 100% supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement, I sort of want to stay in my lane and talk about what I know and what I work on every single day. And, I think people like Netta and DeRay and so many others, Brittany and Bree, are in a much better position to have this conversation and dialogue. And I definitely don't want to be seen as trying to usurp any of that.
Absolutely. You made a great point in just saying that me on my Twitter, I kind of got into a back and forth with somebody about a recent happening that happened with ASAP Rocky on a radio publication. And he was, just like the cliff notes of it, he was speaking about how he personally wasn't well versed enough to talk about what the changes should be because he didn't know exactly what to say in that instance. And I said, I love the honesty because if somebody doesn't necessarily have all of the knowledge or the facts to speak upon it, we shouldn't, force them to speak upon it because they're not as well versed in it. Do you think that we put too much onus on celebrities when it comes to police brutality and speaking out and wanting them to lead and be the leadership of the movement?
Well, I think the leadership, especially of the Black Lives Matter movement, comes from people on the ground. It's the activists, it's the people who are there at the rallies every single time, or almost every single time. It is those people who are putting their lives and their bodies on the line. Those are the people that we should be looking to for guidance and information. I think it's great when celebrities and public figures speak out on these issues often, but, there are times when they say things that we don't necessarily agree with, So if you have a Black person coming out and saying all lives matter, they have their right to say that, but then they may feel the consequences of using that phrase as opposed to Black Lives Matter. And then the question becomes, did they know what they were saying, or did they know what the distinctions are between the two? And if not, why not? The phrase, the hashtag has been around for years now. And who is your publicist? Who is your person who is working with you on social media such that you haven't been fully versed and brought up to speed on those issues. And I also think that there are a lot of public figures who, in celebrities, who don't realize that actually doing things behind the scenes that are very supportive of Black Lives Matter without attaching their name to it. For example, we found out after Prince left us in April that he had, donated tens of thousands of dollars to keep a library afloat, and that he had, and he came to Baltimore, to perform that concert right after Freddie Gray died. It was reported that Beyonce also bailed out, or donated money so that many of the people arrested after Freddie Gray was killed were able to be bailed out and released. And she never, she never confirmed that. And it was only recently that she came out with Formation and Lemonade that she, I think, took a much more active and vocal stance about where she was on these issues. So it can be sort of a mixed bag. We want people to speak out, but we want to make sure that they're fully educated before they make the choice about what they want to say so that, it doesn't sort of blow up in their face.